Granolah and Oatmeel are some of the newer characters in Dragon Ball Super, and they are both steeped in mystery. But Granolah is not just the last Cerealian. He faced near death when the Saiyans were attacking Cereal. He was even confronted by Goku's father, Bardock, when he was in the Ozaru state, and somehow, someway, Granolah survived. And I think I have the reasons as to how and why he survived. So we're going to go over it in this Dragon Ball Super Theory video today. Before we get into it though, please do leave a like if you end up enjoying, subscribe and turn notifications. You can also follow me on Twitter, link down below. And also, if you guys like Dragon Ball, you'll probably like my light novel series I've been writing. It's called Nine Fates, and if I were to describe what it is in 3 words, it's really Dragon Ball, Norse mythology combined. Like I said before, because Dragon Ball is 2 words, but that's really what it is. I took a lot of Dragon Ball and other manga as well, and combined that with Norse mythology, and it is essentially, Nine Fates is getting adapted into a webtoon comic. But, that being said guys, let's get into this theory. It is very important to go over the naming conventions in Dragon Ball. Like the very obvious that all Saiyans are named after vegetables. Kakarot is carrot, Raditz is radish, and then Vegeta and Tarbell as brothers, when their names combine equal the word vegetable. Then we know that the Cerealians are Granolah's race that were wiped out by the Saiyans. Cerealians is a pun on cereal, and granola is a type of food that is often used as a cereal. Oatmeal is another breakfast item, and oatmeal is oats, whereas granola is made from oats themselves. So essentially, oats are the chicken and granola is the egg, which makes me possibly think that the naming convention of oatmeal and granola depicts a sort of father and son relationship. Now it is stated that oatmeal is actually an AI in the Toyotaro interview, which immediately makes me think of this arc and its parallels to the baby arc of Dragon Ball GT. Whatever you think about Dragon Ball GT, I heavily suggest to watch the baby arc in the original Japanese with English subtitles, as the GT dub is one of the worst dubs I've ever seen. Seriously, one of the best arcs in all of Dragon Ball is the baby saga in Dragon Ball GT. But this arc revolves around how the Saiyans had affected a technologically advanced race called the Sephorians. The Saiyans were forced to go to Ozaru to eventually win this war, and one of the scientists was Dr. Mew. Dr. Mew would go on to retreat and recreate the last survivor of the Sephorian race, and he created Baby. Or actually, some GT spoilers here, it was really Baby who created Mew. But anyways, the fact that the naming convention of granola and oatmeal suggests a father-son relationship and an AI, and that makes me think that Granola's father was Oatmeal, who created a copy of his intelligence and placed it in the goggles. Again, Granolah would have ties to Baby in this instance. Both are characters that are the last of their race. Both of their races were killed by the Saiyans, and now they want revenge against the Saiyans and are acting as the antagonists against them. This would not be the first time that Super has taken some inspirations from Dragon Ball GT, and I'm here for it. The theory only gets more interesting though when you try and answer the question of how Granolah survived his encounter with Ozaru Bardock. Well, this is probably because Granolah may as well have been an experiment from his father, and may have had his power enhanced. We know that even before making his wishes on the Dragon Balls, that Granolah is incredibly powerful. He was able to fight multiple of the OGs at once, that had copied the powers and abilities of OG-73, that same OG-73 that could body Piccolo and gave Gohan a run for his money. This means that Granolah got to way beyond Super Saiyan levels of power without any sort of transformation or god rituals. This could in turn mean that as a child, he could have been strong enough to take on Ozaru Bardock. We know that his max power level as an Ozaru would be 100,000, since his max power level as a Saiyan was 10,000, which means it is not out of the question that Granolah was stronger than the Ozaru Saiyans as a child, but may have been scared because he was a kid seeing a bunch of giant monsters killing his people, and acted like Kid Gohan, being scared and not revealing his power. Only being able to use his powers once Ozaru Bardock made his attack, and then he ended up fighting him off. Through biological enhancements is what may have allowed for Granolah to ultimately use his other eye and make it red. Another possible thing that could have happened is that Granolah's father is actually the true creator of the OG androids, and these came to save Granolah before he could be killed by the Ozaru Saiyans. These OG androids have a lot of similarities to Baby as well, as they are artificial life forms made to adapt and become the strongest warriors and rule the universe. Even weirder is the name OG. Does OG-73 really mean Oatmeal and Granolah 7-3? Is the scientist just naming the OGs after the initials of his own name and his son? I think it is an interesting correlation. I think that the red eyes of the Cerealians won't just make them good snipers, but also good scientists, allowing them to see further into their experiments with their eyes, monitor them far more closely, as well as analyzing data more precisely or faster. Granolah says that he can even monitor the blood flow and the muscle movements of Goku, which would be a great application for science. Maybe we get to a point where Granolah and OG73 fuse together and create the true ultimate being, which would be similar to Baby taking over Vegeta and the Baby Saga of Dragon Ball GT. But even more so, I believe it to be possible that Granolah is actually a Cerealian Saiyan hybrid. This is because things really just add up too much. See, the Saiyan Tuffle war in Dragon Ball GT was a 10-year-long war that ended with the Saiyans winning. All we know in Dragon Ball Super that it was a somewhat elongated war between the Cerealians and the Saiyans, because there was multiple Saiyans on the planet, which would imply that it took a large force to take them out, and there was a full moon, meaning that the Saiyans were warring for possibly a long time and waiting for that full moon to ultimately win once they become Ozarus. See, this actually perfectly aligns with the Dragon Ball Super storyline, with the Cerealians and the Dragon Ball GT storyline with the Sephorians as a parallel, as we know that Granolah is 50 years old, and the Saiyans finished off the Cerealians 40 years prior, meaning he was 10 years old at the time of his flashback dream. This may mirror what happened where the Saiyans came to Cereal and had to fight for 10 years. Then when the Saiyans went Ozaru, they won the war. During these 10 years, Oatmeel may have made a copy of his AI to overlook and raise Granolah, and Granolah may even be a Saiyan hybrid, as Oatmeel, or whoever is the scientist, took Saiyans that either died or had lost, and then took that data and that biology and implanted that in Granolah to create a Saiyan hybrid. This would mean that possibly if, let's say, Granolah had defeated Bardock, but then also Granolah lost consciousness after, that maybe this scientist took some blood from Bardock, and that means that Granolah has Bardock's blood, and Goku would technically be fighting either what could be Bardock's son, which would be like his brother, or Bardock's blood himself, which would be like him fighting his father. This means that Granolah can get way stronger via the modality of Super Saiyan transformations possibly. And this would actually take the theme from Dragon Ball GT, that Baby was actually a Saiyan himself once he overtook Vegeta, and then enacted his revenge by using the actual Prince of the Saiyans against the Saiyans themselves, and basically everybody else. He tried to take over the universe, but the names of Granolah and Oatmeel are actually remnants of the Sephorian names. A Sephorian is a pun on fruit, and all the Sephorians were named after fruits, as there's Dr. Leche, Kamen, Orin, and oats are actually a type of fruit, though they're still technically a grain. And even crazier is that there are other Saiyan hybrids that are named after grains, Gohan and Pan, whose names means rice and bread. So this means that Granolah is a Saiyan hybrid because he shares that with Gohan and Pan as having a name after a grain. And does this mean that the Cerealians are going to parallel the Sephorians, and that Toyotaro and Toriyama are taking inspiration from Dragon Ball GT's best arc, and taking from the Sephorians and Baby, and we have OG73, which also takes a lot of inspiration from Baby. OG73 even was showed in an early arc, just like Baby, to be defeated, and just like Baby, to get stronger by taking other people's powers, like Baby, and then to come back, probably be super important, and then possibly fuse with Granolah, which would eventually turn Granolah from good guy to bad guy, probably because OG73 will take over, or the scientist will reveal himself, and he'll take over the Granolah fused with OG73, which could create one of the most broken villains of all time. And we could actually see the death of Frieza again if this creation is made to go against Frieza, and they kind of don't care about the Saiyans as much because Frieza was the one who ordered them to do it. But yeah, overall, that is my theory for Granolah, is that Oatmeel might be his father, or Oatmeel is AI that his father created to accompany his son, and that Granolah is a hybrid or an experiment or both, and that is how he survived the Ozarus and why he is so freaking strong. And it just makes sense with all this and all the obvious evidence that the Sephorians and the Cerealians are paralleling each other and the symbolism there. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on this theory down below. Do you think that Granolah and OG73 are going to go the way of Baby, and that the Sephorians and the Cerealians are going to have a lot more in common? And yeah, that's what I think is going to happen here. But let me know your thoughts down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Peace out.